Hi guys, hold on for a second. Before we proceed to the video, I have something very important to tell you. Professor Jon V. Kofas has published his new book in collaboration with Little French Media, and the title of the book is Neoliberalism, Inequality, and Authoritarianism. This book details how neoliberalism impacts the geopolitical economy in the 21st century. You can buy it from Amazon, and the link is in the description. Thank you. Now let's proceed to the video.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an introductory or a teaser session on the state of the healthcare system in America. I want to start with a statement that the new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, also former head of the Bank of England and a former executive with Goldman Sachs, made in Canada, of course, in as part of his inauguration speech. He noted that in America, that healthcare is big business. In Canada, it is a right, as it is, of course, in most of the world. It is a human right. He further stated that markets, which of course in the United States transcend human beings, uh, don't have value as far as he's concerned. People do. Now, clearly, Mark Carney is on record vehemently opposing the Trump administration's rhetoric about reducing a sovereign nation, a longstanding ally and neighbor of the United States, Canada, uh, to the 51st state, and of course availing itself, that is the U.S. availing itself of the vast natural resources of Canada. The reason I'm mentioning this is that the the Trump administration's policies, whether it is economic warfare against friend and foe alike through a tariff war unleashed on a world scale and rattling the markets, or whether it is threatening to seize the Panama Canal, buy Greenland, annex Canada. Um, any of these deals reduce Ukraine to an economic satellite of the United States. Any of these, including, of course, the other one, of course, which raised a lot of eyebrows globally, seizing Gaza and reducing it into a French Riviera like resort, minus the Palestinian people. All of these are a manifestation of a crisis in the United States. This crisis is very deep. It has absolutely nothing to do with one individual, namely Donald Trump, nor does it have much to do with the right hand man of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, who is, of course, disrupting the federal agencies and dismissing hundreds of thousands of workers in order to dish out hundreds of billions in contracts to Silicon Valley and replace those workers with artificial intelligence, as well as people loyal to the Republican Party, which is a form of clientelism associated with third world countries. The US is undergoing a very serious crisis. It is not one thing, it is not one individual. This is systemic, it is part of an institutional crisis. And in the full video session, which I have developed, I try to analyze how this impacts one of the most critical sectors of American society, namely the health of the American people. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because the Musk group, behind which is Trump, and behind which are Wall Street firms that have made no apologies about supporting largest banks, largest corporations, largest investment firms. They have made no apologies about supporting gutting the federal government and gutting Medicare. Let me be very clear. Medicare is a program for the poorest Americans. The bottom 50%, many of the, on the bottom 50% of the economic scale are, Medicaid, I meant to say. Medicare is for everyone. Medicaid is for the poorest Americans. Medicaid is usually a program that is offered to the poorest Americans, although Elon Musk argues and Trump argues that it's not usual. There is a lot of fraud, there is a lot of theft, and so forth and so on. It is in fact, it was in fact designed to serve the poorest of the population. America does have over 12% of its population below poverty line, and we have three billionaires in the United States, all supporting Donald Trump, okay, who own more wealth than the bottom 50%. And within that bottom 50%, Medicaid is designed to help those people. And Medicaid is what the Trump Musk group want to gut and take that money and give it back to the richest 5% of Americans through a bill that has gone through Congress of $4.5 trillion, of which uh, 3/4 of that will go to tax cuts for the richest Americans, and the rest in various other programs and subsidies. That is another gift to people, as Warren Buffett, the billionaire, has stated, who don't need that money. Um, and this comes at the expense of women and children, elderly adults, and as many state governors have pointed out, and state legislators, as well as senators in Washington, this will impact the health and lives. Human lives will be lost if they got close to 1 trillion out of the Medicaid program. In the longer video, analytical video, I point out that the United States, which is the richest country in the world in nominal GDP value, not in purchasing power parity, that's China, but in nominal value, it is the richest country in the world, has the costliest healthcare system in the world, and yet it ranks dead last among OECD countries, Organization of Economic Development and Cooperation countries. It ranks dead last. This is the reason that Art Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, argued. Canada, by the way, has universal health care. The United States has one of the worst healthcare systems, bankrupting, as we will see, the the bottom 2/3 of the American people, as we will see, medical debt, often concealed because people transfer it on to credit card debt, by the way. And so it becomes part of household debt. So it's concealed as part of household debt, but it started out as medical debt. The other issue that I develop and I want to briefly introduce is what's called distressed investing in hospitals, owing to debt that hospitals accumulate because the insurance companies, by the way, deregulated by both Republican and Democratic administrations. This is not a partisan issue. This is a bipartisan issue. Both Obama as well as the Republican Clinton, Obama, Biden, as well as Bush, and Trump, all of them participated in this. This all started back with the Reagan administration, when the Reagan administration really ordered the defunding of mental hospitals, and so many people, thousands of people were released from mental hospitals so that the Reagan can give back billions to the richest Americans, and we begin to see the rise of homelessness in America, with mentally ill people from California to Washington, D.C., in the streets begging. What we have here is a serious crisis. It's an institutional crisis, it's a societal crisis. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This is just an individual who happened to be in this time in history at the right place at the right time, backed by Wall Street. Like I said, those of you who want to look deeper into this, all you have to do is look at who supports all of these policies of gutting Medicaid and wanting to cut Medicare and Social Security, by the way, the social safety net, and transfer these monies, public funds, to the richest 5%, and within that 5%, the richest 1%. Again, I remind you, as Warren Buffett said, we don't need this money. We're already billionaires. And yet, that's what this group of fanatics want to do, who, by the way, as Bernie Sanders correctly pointed out, constitute the oligarchy in America. America is hardly a democracy, not according to me, according to independent organizations, okay, like Human Rights Watch, um, Amnesty International, and so forth, that rate the United States and other countries. The United States has been degraded to a semi-authoritarian country. I wouldn't call it a full-fledged authoritarian country. They still have elections, but it doesn't mean very much because the policies resemble those of an authoritarian regime. So, one of the things that I discuss in the longer video is how, through executive orders and through various legislative maneuvers, the Trump administration has managed to bring Silicon Valley and Wall Street into Washington and to gut the public treasury, okay, to fund more tax breaks and corporate subsidies, all of it constituting what is called in economics corporate welfare, gutting social welfare, which goes back to the FDR administration, and strengthening corporate welfare. Okay. And specifically, I discuss in this longer video how distressed investing in hospitals through private equity firms has driven many clinics and hospitals into bankruptcy after these raiders go in, these speculative investors go in, got the institution, the medical health facility, they literally drain it of its resources, and then it goes bankrupt. Um, this is this is not an example of a democratic country, no matter the rhetoric that the United States is the greatest democracy in the world. You don't have democracy, as Mark Carney in Canada pointed out, when you uh, place the lives of human beings, of your own citizens, below the interests of the markets, which, of course, are mostly the domain of a tiny percentage of the population. Most of the money in the United States is super concentrated. Like I said, just three people, own more wealth than the bottom 50%. That is, three people own more money in the United States right now than 175 million. That's not democracy. Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, is correct. Elizabeth Warren is correct. This is oligarchy. I invite you to take a look at the longer video, analytical video, and to write comments. And I also invite you to join this channel, this YouTube channel. It's managed by my very good friend Asad Alim, and I thank you for listening.